all about financing.
It really
so.
just depends, you know.
Yeah,
I don't want that standard.
I can say it can be cash positive. The stars have to align a little bit, but it can be cash positive from day one. Yeah.
There you go. And like you said, with the rising cost in electric, there is a point where your monthly payment will be less than what your electric bill would be.
Yeah, and I think it is important to as you noted, say it's a a fixed payment. So that's much easier to budget regardless.
Yep.
Right.
And usually it's it's like $10-15 a month. It's not a world-ending difference.
Sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right, Mike.
back, you're good. Okay, hey, question for the just lost my thing. Sorry, guys. Shoot. Where are those questions again? I hit something and my whole second screen changed on me. That was from you this morning, right, Lydian? Right. Hang on. Let me go back to Lydian. It's either 4:30 or 5:30, maybe 6:30. There it is. Okay. All right. I got it back. It's like clockwork. I know that I'm going to get to answer before 7. All right. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Hey, let me ask a question about my opening statement. So, opening statement. Am I talking? Did we decide I was going to talk about COVID a little bit, about how our crews are prepared and how people are still buying solar? Is that it, or what else should I add? Okay.
Do you think we should move that to the end? Because oh, that's true. That's true. Well, I'll preface the whole thing by saying, this discussion is about financing and pricing of solar.
Good. Okay. That'll be warmed up then. Yeah. So the intro will be. All right. So like 20 seconds. Welcome back to, are we calling this the MTV Solar Podcast? Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah. Shane, do you want to turn your camera on, or are you going to stay?
Well, I think I got to stay downstairs, so I'm sitting in the recliner. It doesn't look as good in the background.
Fair enough.
I go upstairs and the signal it's fine on the phone, but every time I go upstairs, sometimes it craps out, sometimes it doesn't.
Right. No problem. I was just curious whether or not where you wanted to be on that. Your background picture is pretty badass. So
it's cool, man.
Yeah, it looks weird every time I'm sitting in the recliner and we meet like this. But that's why I'm usually doing it downstairs, and I do all my work downstairs. The Wi-Fi router's right here, but man, as soon as I go upstairs, it's like hit or miss.
I hear you.
Run along, sometimes it just pops straight out.
Hey, Lydian, how many run-throughs have been on the battery system? I'm going to mention that podcast. As I'm listening to my podcast, I hear them referring to other podcasts. So I'm going to, pretty soon I'll be going like this. Click here, hit subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell. Yes. You bring up my my E-Gauge or what? Perfect. Got it. That sounds good. Okay, cool. Gotcha. So how many run-throughs on the battery system podcast? Can I say 2,000 yet, or is it still under that? Yeah. I'll open with welcome back. And if you missed our battery podcast, where can you find that? On the MTV store on Facebook? Okay. Holy crap.
Wow.
That's good.
That's a good girl.
That's awesome.
We have been. And that was put up, what, just 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. I got it, 7-1, 3 weeks ago.
Not bad.
Okay, good.
Okay. Hey,
yes.
So some things that I hear a lot are like my house is 2,000 square foot. How much is solar going to cost me? So
Right.
that's a good one to address. It's about use, not, you know, how big your home is.
Yeah.
Just,
Do you want me to ask it that way?
How?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a good way to ask it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be
I'm
happy
still
to
gonna
take
go,
that one or whatever.
yeah, I'm still going to go with averages when I
Right.
talk about pricing.
You could address that in the how much does solar cost question. You can say,
Yeah.
oftentimes we get asked, you know, I have a 2,000 square foot home. How much does it cost me to run the house on solar? And then you can kind of get into the specifics of that.
yeah. So usually when I'm talking to people, I'll say things like, you know, and they're trying to understand that, you know, it's, you know, you could be in a 1,600 square foot home and have a hot tub that you use every night, or you could be in a 4,000 square foot home that has lots of doors inside because it's an older home and you've shut off areas and not using as much. It's all about what you use, you know, for them to
Right.
their head around that.
And I don't mind asking the question that way. That's
I sit back, stop leaning.
great.
Better.
See what I
Okay.
mean about this background, though? I mean, it's kind of cool. This
That is
is kind of cool. I did.
Thanks.
I guess that's not too bad. I hate to just do that.
That's good.
All right. I think I'm ready.
All right,
What's
so you're gonna do the intro?
all right. What am I doing one here? Am I even doing one? I'm doing how to build it over time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's easy enough.
Okay. We ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Is this on Facebook only? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to the MTV Solar podcast on Facebook. I'm Mike McKechnie, the owner of MTV Solar, and we have our team of MTV Solar experts that will be asking questions and giving us answers to those questions. Today's topic is about what does solar cost, and are there financing options, and how does that all work out? So that's our topic for today. Oops, cut.
We got to do a blooper reel sometime.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'll finish the intro and then you'll ask the question. All right, so I got to do, all right, our team, Mike, I'm going to mention the battery, and that's it. So it's going to be quick, short and sweet, short and quick. Okay. Copy statements later. Okay, I'm ready.
You can't go.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the MTV Solar podcast. We've got 2 or 3 podcasts out there now on Facebook. My name is Mike McKechnie. I'm the president and CEO of MTV Solar. We work in the Mid-Atlantic states. With me today, we have the MTV Solar experts to answer your questions. And today's topic is about what does solar really cost with the tax credits and other incentives, and are there financing options? It's a popular question. We want to get some very accurate information out to you about what it actually costs. And we'll talk about averages and about things like that. So that's our topic for today. If you haven't seen our previous podcasts, I'd recommend you go back on Facebook and look at those. We've seen a tremendous amount of success with people watching the entire podcast. So we're realizing that there's a need for this information, and we're going to continue this podcast once every 2 to 3 weeks during these COVID times. Last one was 3 weeks ago. It was about battery systems. So you don't need batteries for a regular solar system, but you can add them. That was 3 weeks ago. We've already had 2,340 people watch the entire podcast. So we think this is effective and it's a need. So we're going to continue to do that. So with that, I'd like to say welcome to this episode.
Hi, Mike. I was wondering just basically how much solar costs. I have a 2,400 square foot house, and what do I need in order to make that work?
That's a great question, Kiki. That's probably the most popular question is, what does it cost? And then we'll hear data about the size of the house. They think they have, a south-facing roof, which they heard was good, and so on. So for averages, what I'm going to talk about is what the average residential solar system that we sold last year, what that price was, and then we'll talk about the tax credit for that. So if we talk about averages, we can say that maybe the average house in our geographical location, which is going to be in a 4-state area close to our headquarters in Berkeley Springs, about 2 hours away, that maybe the average house is about 2,000 square feet, a little bit over, a little bit under. How you power your house is another part of the equation. Some people have natural gas, some people have propane, some people have just a straight electric house. If you're running your house and mostly your heating systems on heat pumps, your electric bill will be higher than the person that has the same house that's running their heating with propane and with natural gas. So it's a very important part to talk about. And the heating cost is one of the largest costs for your home. So the average last year that people invested was $19,000 for a residential PV system. Okay, that $19,000 was before the tax credit. The tax credit this year is 26%. That would be $4,940. So your net investment would be just about exactly $14,000. So that's what most people picked as an average starting point with all the jobs we sold last year and all the different types of houses. Now that's just the solar with no batteries. It doesn't include other things like car chargers and things like that. And that's going to be on the roof, not on the ground. So there's a kind of an average cost based on recent history. And from there, obviously we look at each house as an individual property with your concerns as a consumer. We analyze the utility bill, we analyze the tariff rate that you're paying with the utility, and we look at what your needs are. And as we've mentioned in other programs, you don't need to put all the solar on at once. Next question, Kiki, might be, well, how much of my utility bill will that cover? That's probably the next, logical question. That depends on, again, how much electricity you're using, and are you heating your home with fossil fuel or with electricity with heat pumps? So the average coverage of that $19,000 may be in that 40 to 50% of the average utility bill. So these are all just averages, and every house is going to be different. Every need will be different, but there's at least some averages. I hope that helps.
Yeah, so when I would meet with the consultant, they could really fine tune it for my particular circumstances.
Exactly. You'll get a fully customized proposal with a Google image of your home with solar panels on it. And then we look at your utility bill and the preparation by the salesperson prior to the first phone call or meeting. Now we're meeting pretty much, remotely, but there are in-person meetings happening if people are comfortable. We'll talk about our COVID preparedness statement for our crew, our salespeople, and as our company as a whole at the end of this podcast. But yeah, very customized to your needs.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very welcome.
So can you tell me a bit more about what financing options there would be for solar? I don't necessarily have 20,000 in savings that I want to release to spend on solar. Is there financing options available?
Absolutely. One thing we're seeing across the country from our folks who go solar with us and just general trends with the industry is that more and more people are using financing options in order to make solar happen and in order to make battery backup systems happen. There's a lot of primary ways that people end up using financing. One primary way is if you have equity in your home, then you could use your home equity to take advantage of what are now pretty low rates to finance your system. There's a little bit of process there, but a lot of people choose home equity financing to make solar happen. A lot of folks too, if you're buying a home, will roll solar into your mortgage. And that's really the lowest monthly payment option, because if you're buying a home, it has good south-facing, southeast, southwest-facing exposure. You can get 30-year financing, and there's the potential for it to be cash positive from day one. It's always something to look into when you're buying a home. With folks that we work with, a lot of people will use a financing agency that we work with, Solar Mosaic, which provides 100% financing, nothing to do with contract signing, no liens against your home. It's secured by the equipment for collateral. And really for the solar mosaic financing, we see the average monthly payment be anywhere from $100 to $200 a month. The system that Mike talked about earlier, the $19,000 system, would probably be right around $115, $120 a month for a rooftop solar system. Nothing to a contract signing, monthly payments don't start until the system's installed and working. So it's a way that you have fixed monthly payments that are fixed for the entire length of the agreement. And really, what we do is we work with each person to identify whether an outright purchase is best, or whether financing is best. And then we customize the approach to you. We don't pressure you into taking the financing. It's all about what solution is best for you.
Interesting. Do you find that the payments tend to be comparable to the electric bill that I'm paying monthly, or lower than that?
It can be in the right circumstances. So the thing about solar is that the generation is your benefit. If you have a perfectly south-facing roof, you generate more electricity with the same $19,000 system that Mike talked about earlier than if you put that same system on an east-facing roof or a west-facing roof. So your benefit and your savings is based on how much electricity you can produce. It can be cash positive from day one, especially in locations that have solar renewable energy credit, which is extra income you can get for selling the environmental attributes of your generation. If you're not in a state with solar renewable energy credits, it's a bit harder for it to be cash positive from day one. We usually see a minor difference between the savings and your monthly payment, but then it's important to remember that your monthly payments are fixed for the entire length of the agreement. They're not going up. If your monthly payment is $150, just round number out of the top of my head, your monthly payment on month 1, month 36, month 72 is $150. Your electric bill, on the other hand, goes up. The savings that you have on your electric bill goes up generally every year or every couple years when the utility asks and gets inevitably gets a rate increase. So with solar, your savings go up over time, but your monthly payment is fixed and predictable so that you can budget around it.
Thank you for answering that.
Can I add something to what Danny's saying that I thought of as he was talking? In states like Maryland, we see a lot of PPA and lease programs where a solar company comes in. They'll generally say, "Okay, zero money down. We'll put the solar system on your roof, and we will stabilize your electric bill with a PPA or a lease." And there are savings that happen over time, and that's usually with utility inflation. With financing, it works better than residential PPAs and leases. And this is why I'm saying this, because with financing through a program such as Mosaic, a solar lender, you have, or you get to keep your SREC credits. Whereas with a PPA or a lease, you're going to sign over something. If your state has solar renewable energy credits, you're going to be signing over those solar renewable energy credits. So you can stabilize that bill with a 20-year Mosaic loan, but you do not lose those renewable energy credits if your state offers them. You get to bring that income in. So, and everything's warranted for 20 or 25 years. So it's really generally no different than the PPA or lease. The payment will be about the same, but you have the extra income from energy credits. And also, what we see sometimes with PPAs and leases is that there's a problem with the system, and it's sometimes hard for these larger companies to get to that problem and fix it. So you're paying your additional utilities to your utility provider, and you're paying that PPA or lease. Whereas in this situation, for example, we have a service department that's very quick to get to your system and fix the problem. It's under warranty, so it's no different than the PPA or lease, but the solution usually happens a lot faster, and you're not stuck with that bill doubling that you see with utilities and PPAs or lease. So
yeah.
Can I say, Lydian, could you edit it? Like if one either Carrie or I ask, well, I've heard about PPAs or something like that, and then put in his answer to that? Or okay,
Yeah,
and then
that's my argument for the 20-year loan, and I completely forgot that. Because it is better than doing a PPA or lease. Do the 20-year loan for the 20-year.
with the lease,
Yeah,
And
you
You
gotta
never
buy
heard
it.
it.
You
You
gotta
don't
buy
get
it.
the tax
Right.
credit.
yeah, right.
Yep.
With the PPA, do you want to mention that, or like, because I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many reasons why the PPAs are not advantageous for the consumer. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The PPA is just confusing. So SREX tax credit, and you still don't own the system.
Yeah, you want to ask a question?
Do you want to do it, Carrie? Because it's kind of in line
Carrie?
with the question you just asked.
So you want me to say my question again, or you want me to?
No, just like, well, I've heard, what about leasing? I've heard that you can lease with no money down or whatever. I don't know how you want to word it.
that's a good one because Solar Energy World or Solar Power Home is right now advertising in Winchester solar, no money down. Right now. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Maybe a question like,
That
one
could
of my
mean, that could mean Mosaic. It could mean leasing or PPA. I don't know what that exactly means with them, but because Mosaic zero money down, right?
Yeah.
Those-
Yeah, it's better than
Those-
a lease. You're in a better position than a lease, and it'll be basically the same payment, but you're not going to get that extra utility payment because the system will get serviced faster. You're going to keep your SREX. Generally, we're going to reapply the tax credit to the loan.
Mhm.
Hey, you guys getting that storm right now or not?
No,
I
No,
got-
I'm-
I got-
I'm making power.
Hmm.
What am I making?
I
Not
go.
10 kilowatts. I might be making.
That was
3.
Marty Mandelberg's phone call that interrupted us, by the way.
oh, was it Mandelberg? He used to call a lot, didn't he?
He does. He likes to chat.
I'm making 2.8, 2.85.
Kiki,
Oh, you.
I get your what if I can't make a down payment question when you hopped out for the call.
Yesterday got off to such a good start.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So that question's been asked.
I didn't ask about the down payment. I just went straight to the lower electric bill one because you were on the phone.
It did. It flowed in nice anyway.
Yeah,
It really
Yeah.
did.
I mean, that's the thing, and Lydian's so good at the
cutting it all up.
yeah.
That was a really good answer, by the way.
I'm glad I thought about that because that was one of them.
Don't come to the camera. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to do the leasing question, Carrie, or do you want me to do it if you?
Up to you. Do you do it? You do that one. I'm just
You
thinking.
could say, is it more advantageous to do a lease or a finance system? And
Okay, so whenever everybody's ready again.
All right. I got soaked.
All
All right. About the same. All right, cool.
right, are you ready, Lydian? Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I've heard that there are leasing options, no money down, lease your system. Why wouldn't I do that instead of financing it?
well, Kiki, there's a couple reasons you would be in a better situation if you finance the system rather than leased it. Now let's talk about specifically solar financing. Solar financers generally do not put a lien on your home. So it's not a home equity loan. You're going to be in an even better position if you do a home equity loan. A solar financer is going to be a little bit more, but a solar financer is not going to be very demanding when it comes to your debt to income ratio. It's not going to be very demanding when it comes to your credit score. The difference is that with solar financing, you're going to be able to keep, if your state offers solar renewable energy credits, you're going to be able to keep and make income off of them yourself. You're not going to be signing those over like you would with a lease.
Wow.
Lease will generally say something like 0 down, or we'll put the system on your roof for free. That's no different than using a solar financer. A lease is generally 20 to 25 years. A solar financer is likely going to be 20 years. The payments will be about the same. The most significant difference that I see, well, actually, there's two things that are the most significant differences that I see. One is the loan is transferable if you do sell your house. The lease is transferable, but sometimes people get into a problem where somebody's trying to buy their home, they can qualify for the mortgage, they can't necessarily qualify for the lease transfer. That has held up home sales in multiple cases, especially when if it's a couple that's retired, the family's left the house, and they're looking
Yeah.
to downsize and get that income from the house. The other situation is where, and this happens sometimes because these leasing companies are really big. They're trying to act as national utilities on a very large scale, and that's difficult to do. So you may have a problem with your system, and it may sit and be inoperable. A portion of it may be inoperable, or the entire system may be inoperable until that company can get there to fix it. So at that point in time, you're paying your utility payment, and you're paying your solar lease payment. You're doubling your utilities. Whereas if you have it financed, all the equipment that we use is generally, it is warranted for 20 or 25 years. We have a service department. If you have a problem, we're going to get there. We're going to fix the problem right away. You're not going to be dealing with an additional utility payment, and it's going to be covered under warranty. So you're in a much better situation. In either case, it's zero money down. But at the end of your lease, you have to usually buy out your system. At the end of your solar financing period, you own your system. It's yours. And it's going to last for years beyond the terms of the loan.
Sounds like a good option. Okay. Thank you.
The other thing to add is, when you lease it, it comes with a tax credit. So you get a 26% tax credit. As well for this year, 22% next year, unless something happens.
Yep. You don't lose your tax credit. You get to keep your tax credit. You can reapply it to the loan and reduce your payments even further.
You said when you lease it.
Yeah, get back. Redo that part. You said lease it.
I said lease. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the other thing to add to that is when you finance your system, you also receive a tax credit. It'll come with it. So if you finance the system this year, you'll get a 26% tax credit. Next year will be a 22% tax credit that you would not receive through a leasing program.
Yeah, exactly. You would surrender that if you were to lease your system. You usually have the option with most solar financiers to reapply that tax credit to the loan and reduce your payment by reamortizing the loan. So you're not surrendering your renewable energy credits, and you're not surrendering your tax credit.
So what I'm hearing is with both of them, a lease, which is not sounding so great, and financing, I can do it for zero down. If I have nothing to put down right now, I can do the financing for zero down. That's correct?
That's exactly correct. And in a lot of cases, some people do have a little bit to put down, but they don't have the full amount to put on the system, and that will reduce your payment too. A lot of times, I find when I work the numbers that works out a lot better too. If you can put a little bit of a cash down payment onto the loan, and then later, reapply the tax credits, and you can even use some of your renewable energy credits as part of the payment, the money you get from those. So it's overall a much better situation to be in.
Okay.
With the down payment, sorry, Mike, with the down payment, we do a 30% down. Now through the financing, there is no money down, and those payments are going to come from the fund or whoever's writing the financing. But as an option, oftentimes it can take time if you want to do a home equity loan or something like that, where you got to get your property appraised and whatnot. There can be some time before money is actually available to you. So an option that we like to provide to those situations is $1,000 down, which will allow us to get the process rolling, get the permit and interconnection applications in. So once financing does come available to you, then the remainder of your down payment can be due at that time, and we can continue on with the project.
Perfect.
Yeah, it makes sense. And hey, just to round out that conversation, we probably could have done a whole episode on, solar, finance versus leases, but there's plenty of information online, especially in the state of Maryland, where leasing was very pervasive, if not predatory in the early days. There's not as many leasing companies out there. I don't use that word lightly. There was a lot of not good things going on, especially targeting the elderly folks in Maryland. Just so much that they changed some of the laws, contracting laws in Maryland based on the predatory lending that was happening. So look up the leasing information online. There's plenty of information on there that you as a consumer can read, which would be important. And then the next thing I want to add is that to kind of bracket this is that when you finance a system or pay for it outright, residentially, you're looking at, about a 9 to 11 year payback based on average utility rates. So the system's paid back in 9 to 11 years. That's the net cost after the tax credit. And then your ROI is going to be between 6 and as high as 9%. So as a return on investment, if you can get into that average of 7 to 8%, the solar system that's on your home is now insured by your insurance company, and your ROI is at 7 to 8% average range, and you have that investment insured. So when we're talking to accountants and we say it's a 7% return and it's insured, they're like, well, that's a no-brainer. We should do that. So this is a financial equation and an energy saving component, but it's also a way to move one of your expenses into the asset column in your household budget.
Yeah, because this is something that you're paying for already, right? And then the cost is going to continue to go up. So this is kind of a way to pay for the next 10 years of your electric bill in advance, and then offset it for over 25 years after it's paid itself back. So it's you're just kind of paying for your electricity ahead of time and allowing a renewable source to pay you back over time.
Yeah, and then you own the energy generating facility on your roof.
Yep, adding an asset to your home, which can add value as well.
Definitely.
Okay. I don't really know where we are on the list of questions.
Right.
No, but I like those answers. I'm glad we went after this a little bit.
I think it's, what if I can't make a down payment? Was that already answered?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
Next one is the monthly payment lower than the electric bill? We kind of answered that, but there might be a little bit of extra time on that.
Well, Danny covered that good. Yeah.
Okay, next is what if I can only afford a few panels for now and I add later? That's the Sally Brinkman model.
Yeah, why don't you talk about Sally, Mike? Because that's exactly who I was going to talk about, but you know it better. And don't forget, she just added a battery. And
I won't use her name, but I'll give her as an example. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
You, Carrie? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right. So what if I can only afford to start with a small system, but I hope to be able to add to that in the future down the road? Is that something that's possible?
It's a good question, Carrie. Yes, it is. It's not only possible, but it's what we see happen with 25% of our customers every year is they call us back to add more. So I'll give my example, and I'll give an example of a consumer in Berkeley Springs that started building her system 8 years ago, and she added more to it this year. So the way I was able to afford solar as a contractor in the early days, when we were running the building company, we weren't even doing solar yet, was that I built it into my mortgage as a component of my budget. So at that time, interest rates were pretty low, but solar was very expensive. So I looked at the construction loan amount that I had already negotiated, and I took some things out of the budget and I put in solar, and unfortunately I put a windmill in, which is another story. We'll talk about it maybe later. And I added solar hot water. So we tried all three, and I put that all into my mortgage. What I looked at before I made that decision was I looked at how much will this budget I have set aside for solar, what would that payment be over the next 30 years at the interest rate that I had versus my current utility bill? And what worked out for me was almost exactly even Steven, and that would have been in 2007, so 13 years ago. So solar was much more expensive then, and it worked out that I think my loan payment was going to go up $75, and my utility bill was going to come down $75. Now my utility bill has come down over $100 because utility rates have gone up, probably about $140, and my loan's been paid off, or that portion of my loan's paid off. So it worked out for me in that way. So that's how I did it. Now I did that with a small system, and then I added to it, and then I added to it again. So that's how I did it in the very beginning. The customer example I'll give is a retired woman in Berkeley Springs. She's a widow, a person that we've known for years, a friend of ours. And she said, look, I want to put in a solar system, but I don't have a lot of money, but I know I want to add more to it. Can you work with me to design something that I can grow into, and I'll likely reinvest every year or year and a half? And we said, that sounds great. It was the first time we really did that for a customer. So she said, look, I've got $10,000. Is that enough to start with? And we're like, absolutely it is. So we ended up building her a ground mount that was going to hold, I think, maybe 20 solar panels. And we just put the first 6 in. and ran the trench, got interconnected, and she saw a reduction of her utility bill. She called us back a year and a half later and said, I want to add, 6 more. So we added 6 more. And then she called us about another year and a half later, almost like clockwork, and added more panels. That was years ago. And then just recently, I think she called one of our sales folks and she wanted to add a Tesla battery. So she's like, can I do that? And we're like, you can now. That many years ago, you couldn't, but now you can. So she added a battery to the system. So she's, I think, we've had 4 contracts with her over the last 8 years. And she now has a ground mount solar system that's offsetting the majority of her electric bill, if not all of it. And she has a Tesla battery for power outages and for security. And she did that, and she's the one that taught us how to do it. I'd like to mention her name, but I don't have her permission. But there's a real life case study, Carrie, that our customer taught us how to do it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that answers my questions for future goals for solar.
Hey, speaking of Sally, since we're going to cut this out, she's got the battery in there. She wants to come over. She wants me and whoever wants to come over and play with the Powerwall. We have certain things on the critical load panel and see what we can do. See if we can plug in toaster oven. See, you know what I mean? Push it.
Yeah.
She would love that if we
I
can.
think that'd be
I
great
think
for
it'd be a great idea too.
Yeah. And maybe Lydian, if you could structure what we should do, so we're not just haphazardly doing it, that would give us data that we could use to use and get out to our customers. That'd be good.
Because she bought a few energy efficient appliances. She's like, okay, I want to see if I can plug this hot plate in. I said, Ryan, do you remember what loads we put on that critical loads panel? He's like, no, I don't. But we'll be able to determine that. We put some loads, like we didn't put the oven and the stove on one Powerwall, obviously, but we could put an outlet in the kitchen. She bought a hot plate. She bought some other
I'm
things.
going to cut you off, Shane, because we got to finish this in 10 minutes for Danny's next thing. And we still have one more question.
Yep. All right. And
all about that out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Shane.
No, let's go. I got tons to do.
the governor's conference starts at 1. Hopefully you guys, y'all are on that. What is the nature of the next question, guys? Batteries are expensive and I can't afford them.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's a financing question, is it?
Yeah, that's not a financial
I'd be
question.
happy to take that one. I think it's a good question.
For
Okay.
financing?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you finance them, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So I've heard a lot of talk about batteries in this podcast and in previous ones, but they're very expensive and I can't afford them. So what can I do?
So batteries are not necessary for solar to work. You'll get all the benefits of reducing your electric bill, covering your electric usage, and knowing where your power is coming from, your own roof or your own ground, without a battery system.
Okay.
The important thing, and the reason why batteries are necessary, is to provide backup power. There's some other usage, but around here, it's primarily to provide backup power. They don't have to be installed at the same time as your solar PV system. So in year 1, you can install your grid direct solar system without a battery. And then in a future year, you can install your battery backup system. And with your battery backup system, just like with solar, through home equity, solar mosaic, or any other options, it can be financed just like the solar PV system. And because it's connected to a solar system, it's also eligible for the tax credit.
Nice.
We love to install Tesla Powerwall batteries. They are simple, straightforward to retrofit into a system. And if you just to provide a sense, for a single Powerwall installation to provide light loads backup, but important and significant backup, you can do that with a payment of anywhere between around $110, $130 per month. And then you have a battery backup right in your home. Scales up a little bit with larger systems, maybe between $150, $120 a month for a significant 2 Powerwall system. But the important thing there is that your battery system can be financed through monthly payments, $0 down, or home equity, or any other financing options that you have available through your local bank, just like a traditional PV system.
Okay, thank you.
That was good. Yeah. All right, I'll do the closing statement and we're done, right? Okay, COVID and close. Okay. My son is now inside. He's the one that walks out. I go, Dad, my egg's getting ready to hatch. I need your phone. It's a
That's awesome.
it's a what is it? It's Pokemon Go thing. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you'll learn all about it, Mike. It's coming at you.
Kira just appeared with a sign saying, "I'm starving to death."
Okay, here we go. We'll wrap it up. All right. And what's my new statement? Hey, folks. Is that right, Lydian? Here's good. All right. Hey, folks. That's going to conclude this episode, this MTV Solar podcast episode. We talked about financing and pricing in no uncertain terms and gave you the actual dollar amounts that are averages. Obviously, that's going to be subject to your particular condition. You can start lower than that. You can obviously spend more than that. And as you learned on the podcast today, you can add to the system. It's very easy to organically expand your system, which is wonderful. So I want to take a quick minute to close out the conversation today and say that we're all working in these COVID-19 times. We want to say that everybody at MTV Solar has been working very carefully individually and as a company to follow the CDC rules and recommendations and to keep our employees safe, keep our customers safe, keep our vendors safe, keep the material guys safe, right down to everybody that comes into the office. So we're working mostly remotely, except for the crews that are working on site. And on site, we've been very careful since the very beginning to communicate with our customers, and we have a protocol in place that we send out. Our crews are being careful when they're traveling to the site, which means stopping at convenience stores and getting gasoline, things like that. But also at your house, which is the most important. They're wiping down the things as they come into your house. So doorknobs, light switches, any surfaces they're touching, all of those things. Then on the way out, they wipe it down on the way out. We're very grateful that our customers have allowed us to be in their basement or their garage. We're not in the living rooms. We're in remote areas of the home where the panel boxes are located, and we're on the roof and the ground. So we feel very fortunate that our customers have allowed us to be in their home. We can have zero contact. We wave at you through the window. You've already mailed the check. We've done a DocuSign for the contract. And then when the crew's done and they're cleaned up, they'll wave goodbye. And then we can communicate with other follow-up items like the interconnection agreement and how you turn the system on. And all that training can be done remotely. So we can have zero personal contact, or now we're getting a little bit of social distancing contact if you prefer that. So that's something we've been doing, and we're happy to continue that as long as we need to. COVID's not over. We're seeing a rise in cases. We're doubling down on the messaging to our crews that this is not done, and we need to continue to be vigilant and to be careful. So we're going to let you know, as a consumer base out there, that we're taking extra care there. We're doing it for ourselves. We're also doing it for you and for our families as we're social distancing. So I wanted to say that. And the other thing is that we're fortunate. People are buying solar and they're buying batteries. We've seen no decline in our business residentially. If anything, a slight increase. So we're here and available to answer your questions. We hope that this has been informative. Solar is an informative sale. We're a low pressure company. We educate you, educate you, and educate you. And then when you're ready to choose a solar installer, we hope that you'll give us an opportunity. Thanks for watching, and we'll be in touch in a couple of weeks. Have a good day and be safe out there.
See you, everybody.
Cheer up.